walks around without being shady. Who knows her values? Who's gone through trials? Her smiles are captured from mouth to mouth. It's not the size of her thighs she worries about, but the pride she thrives to keep that drive. That cinnamon twist. That cinnamon twist. That cinnamon twist. Ladies, can you feel me? That cinnamon twist. That cinnamon twist. That cinnamon twist. Ladies, can you hear me?
Hey everybody, it is your girl Tasha, known to the world as the Tasha Carpenter, but each one of you call me your girl Tasha because when you hang with me, it's like you hanging with your girl. And I want you guys to know that the next 3 weeks we're doing something a little bit different, guys. We are dealing with the political candidates because the election is about to come up, and it's very important for my viewers to be educated on the different candidates within the area and why they're qualified for their position. So today, we have here in the studio with us during the first part of our show, State's Attorney candidate, Mr. Victor Ramirez. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me this afternoon. This is a great show. It's a great opportunity to inform your listeners as to the different political offices. Today, I'd like to talk about my candidacy for State's Attorney. I'm currently in the State Senate. I've been there for 8 years, and before that, Tasha, I was in the State House for 8 years. And so I've been practicing for 17 years. I have my own law practice. It's located in Hyattsville, Maryland, right on Route 1, down the street from DeMatha, up the street from the courthouse. And we specialize in criminal law and personal injury.
All right now, so Victor went right on into it, telling you a little bit about himself. But you know what I think that a lot of the time the viewers like to know too, they want to know a little bit more than just about the candidate.
Sure.
So as Victor the person, who is Victor the person? Where did you grow up at? What schools did you go to? What were your hobbies? Things like that in a nutshell.
Certainly, thank you so much. Well, I grew up in Mount Rainier, Maryland, right on the D.C. line. On Eastern Avenue in Rhode Island. It's a small town, Mount Rainier. My folks still live there. I have 3 siblings. We went to Thomas Stone, Mount Rainier Elementary, went to Hyattsville Middle, and then I went on to Northwestern High School. And so, that's I still called. I like to refer to the area as HMB. It's Hyattsville, Mount Rainier, Brentwood, and we all grew up together in a very diverse community, and it was great. I still have a lot of good friends that from childhood, and so I'm very happy to actually represent the area where I grew up at. And so, I love Prince George's County. It's been great to me. It's been great to my family. My folks still live there. I still have my business here, and I'm currently living in Cheverly, Maryland, with my beautiful wife who. She went to High Point. She grew up in Delphi.
You better get a plug to the wifey.
To the wifey. She's an Eagle. I'm a Wildcat, and we always. It's interesting because we're rivals, and we're high school rivals, but we love one another, and we have a lot more in common than we have not. But it's we now, my wife and I, we have 2 small kids. They're 6 and 4. Victor and Victoria, believe it or not, they're named after their grandfather.
Oh, awesome. Now, HMB, I've never heard of that. I've heard of DMV, but I've never heard of HMB. So you educated your girl Tasha today.
Yeah.
So you have been a product of Prince George's County forever.
Yes. I'm getting a little bit older and wiser at the same time. And Prince George's County's been great. It's a great place to be living in, and it's a great place to grow up. Very diverse. Our diversity is our strength. It's not just about the language, but it's different people's background. You can go from one place. You have the University of Maryland up the street. You have, the Prince George's Community College. Now we have the National Harbor. This is the place to be, is Prince George's County.
All right now. Hey, everybody that's saying hello in there. Thank you. Please remember to share and invite here. If we have anyone, I just want you guys to know that this is going to be a shorter interview because Mr. Ramirez has a forum to get to, right?
Yes, it's Progressive Maryland is hosting a forum tonight, and it's just busy time of the year, and I did want to come by and just have a conversation, let you know that Victor Ramirez is running for State's Attorney, and that I would love for you to check out victorramirez.com. If you have any questions, email me, call me, let me know what you're thinking. I like to say we have to be smart on crime and keep our community safe. We have to make sure that we address, the substance abuse and mental illness issues that we have. We have to end mass incarceration. We have to end cash bail. And I'm the one to do it because I'm the one with the experience.
Okay, so that's why we're not taking any calls. I want you to know that because Victor has to leave. So I'm not going to take any calls during this segment. But with those, with the things that you say need to be approved, what type of plans do you have to improve each one of those issues?
Certainly. So our number one priority is, as the state's attorney, our job is to decide whether to prosecute a case or not prosecute a case. We are the top chief law enforcement officer of Prince George's County. I like to say that the prosecutor's office is one of the most powerful positions in our judicial system, in our justice system. Where I like to say that it's more powerful than law enforcement, more powerful than the judges, because we get to decide. We get to set the policies. There's laws, but if we, my objective is, if we have folks with mental illness and substance abuse, and we should get them the treatment. They shouldn't be locked up. We should try to get them the help. America I think we have a problem with just incarcerating everybody and anybody for certain things. We have to be smart on it. At the same time, I think we can be smart on crime and balance the public safety. I think if you ask people, you want to make sure that people who should go to jail, to commit crimes and are hurting people, they should go to jail. If you're out here hurting kids, seniors, our community, domestic violence victims, crimes of violence, you need to go to jail. And we're going to make sure that we keep our community safe. But if you've slipped up, if you're experimenting, if you're going to a difficult time, if you're committing crimes, the victimless crimes, then I think, we also need to start thinking differently, because it costs about $140 a day to house someone in one of our local jails.
Wow.
And so it's expensive.
How much was that?
$140 a day, approximately.
Okay. And we got how many people in jail?
We got too many people in jail. We got too many people. And some people, we all know the folks that, we listen to the radio, we watch television, and under my administration, we are going to prioritize people who are out here hurting our communities, crimes of violence. But I think we do need to start thinking outside the box as to how do we deal with mental illness and substance abuse. I know this because I've been practicing. I know this because I've gone to other jurisdictions who have diversion programs, who instead of locking you up, we're going to see how we can divert you from your substance abuse problem, or get you the proper help, get you some housing so you can get the professional help for your mental illness. We're doing it in other places. We can do it here in Prince George's County, but we have to be willing to take the lead on that.
So Victor, real quick, because you did bring up the diversion programs, I received the email where someone was saying that they was a little bit confused about how you could be proactive for diversion programs, but they had a concern that when SB 122 was in committee, that you voted for it to get out of committee. So can you speak to that real quick for those person?
So SB 122 is comprehensive criminal bill. That's nothing to do with diversion programs. It actually has a lot of good things in it. It has some enhanced penalties. One of the things that I've learned, and as we legislate, you get more information as the days go on, as the legislative session goes on. One of the things that I'm against is mandatory minimums, and the reason being is because we have a lot of good judges who, in each case, is very differently. As a practicing attorney, I know that I've gone in front of judges and stated their case. They may be found guilty, they may have pled guilty, but I'm pleading to them that jail may not be appropriate in certain cases or certain lengths of jail. But if you start giving out mandatory minimums,
that takes away the discretion.
That takes the discretion, and let's be honest, who it affects. Poor people and people of color. Mm-hmm. That's who it affects. I want to put it out there because it disproportionately affects certain communities more than others. Just like when we chose to decriminalize marijuana, it was because it disproportionately affected African Americans and communities of color. Everybody was doing it at the same rate, but there was more people being convicted for it. And so that's one of the things that I want to look back is that we did criminalize marijuana, and right now we have to decide how do we handle the people who are found guilty of possession of marijuana? Do we go back and I like to go back and expunge their records so they can clear up the records so they can move forward with their lives.
Okay, all right, that's all good. Now there's 3 of you guys running for state's attorney?
I believe so.
Okay, so tell me what people want to know. Why should you have your vote over top of them? What makes you more, or makes you the best candidate?
I think what makes me the most qualified candidate is it's people want to make it out to be that it's some executive position. No, it's not. We're practicing attorneys. You expect the lead state's attorney. Angela Alsobrooks tried cases. Glenn Ivey tried cases. Those were the past two state's attorneys. The only one that didn't try cases was Jack Johnson. And so I think we are on the right trajectory. We're moving ahead, and we can't afford to go back. We can't afford to have someone who's the top prosecutor who's never tried a case. You can't lead if you've never done the job. And to me, that's what separates me, but also being able to think outside the box, to be independent, to say, we have an incarceration problem. We can't just talk about it and say we have an incarceration problem. We can't just talk about we have a cash bail problem. We need to have solutions as to how do we do our part, and how are we going to be proactive to moving that issue forward.
All right. So next week, I'm actually going to have two. I think it's next week. Yeah, two of the school board members are going to come in. And of course, when it comes to schools, and with everything that you're seeing in the news with the gun violence and the shooting and stuff, what type of position do you have on the gun laws, and how do we get control of keeping our schools safe, or the movie theaters, or whatever it may be safe? What's your position on the gun control?
I think, my other job is I'm a state senator and state delegate. I think for the past 16 years, I've advocated for laws that are fair and just. I think we do have a justice system that is unfair at times. And it's unfair to, populations of color and also the poor people. I was the advocate for, I was the lead sponsor to be able to make police officers wear a body camera. And I think it's going to help bring some transparency. I know that it's helped. I think it helps keep both sides, transparent with each other and become more, have better relationships. If you know the camera's on, you're less likely to act a certain way.
Right.
And so to me, I think it works well for both sides. But also, this past year, I was the lead sponsor to ban the bump stocks, which is the device that the killer in the Las Vegas shooting used to seriously hurt 500 people.
I was going to say, what is that?
Yeah, no, it's a bump stock. It's a device that's used really to kill a lot of people in a short period of time. It sprays bullets out at like an assault weapon, a full automatic assault weapon. In Maryland, I fought to scale back to ban assault weapons. We did that. I voted for that. I was a strong proponent of that. I also, have advocated to take guns away from domestic violence abusers and people who have been convicted of certain crimes that shouldn't have guns. To say, you have to turn your gun in. You've lost that right. I understand your Second Amendment right, but there's limits to that as well. So those are some of the things we're doing. We obviously want to keep getting back to your question, Tasha, getting back to keeping our schools safe. Of course, we need to keep our schools safe. I think that we need to make sure that we are training our teachers, that we have counselors also dealing with the mental illness, because that's the root of it. I think, unfortunately things happen, but we need to have professional people in our schools to be able to identify and work with our students to make sure that tragedies like the one in Florida or even the one here in St. Mary's County don't occur here in Prince George's or anywhere else.
Exactly. Now, I know your time is running down, but I know that you have a good track record when it comes to helping you working families and to deal with unions and things like that.
Correct.
So how will you translate the work that you did on working families into your new position elected as state's attorney?
Well, certainly, we will take every situation where we feel that laws have been broken very seriously. I plan to beef up the economic crimes unit. That's the unit that deals with if you're not paying your fair wages, working conditions. Those are also issues that affect our working families, because if people are being cheated out what the proper wages are or the working conditions, that affects everyone. And if you work a day, you should be paid for that day. If you work and you have sick leave or vacation time, you should be able to be compensated for that time as well. We need to hold everyone accountable.
You got some amens going on in the chat group there.
Thank you so much. And I really mean it from the bottom of my heart, Tasha. I thank you and your audience for allowing me the opportunity. My name is Victor Ramirez. It's the guy with the long, funny name, but I promise you, I know what I'm talking about. I promise you, I've kept Prince George's County citizens in mind and advocating for rights, worker rights, human rights, and now we're going to talk about justice rights.
Victor Ramirez, the guy with a long, funny name on the ballot, is asking for your vote. So, look, I mean, I feel rushed. You know, it's always so much that we could talk about, but I understand you have to get over to the forum. If somebody it's a community forum where anybody can come in, where would they find you at?
It's at Capitol Heights. It's at Oak Crest Community Center.
Okay, Oak Crest Community Center, where the speed cameras are, guys. If you go there, that's the speed camera center. So, you know, I'm going to wish you the best of luck on your candidacy.
You so much,
and I want to say, if you're elected,
yes,
I expect to see you back when we don't have to be rushed.
Of course, and we would take our time to, one, you know, continue building our relationships, not just you and I, but our community. And I say us, I never say I, because we can't do this ourselves. We can't make a better community by ourselves. We got to have everyone on the same page moving us forward.
Right. So he's not going to come back and treat me like a redheaded stepchild the next time and rush off my show.
No,
but
never.
That's okay.
Never.
So
thank you so much.
I thank you so much. So at this time, we're going to go to commercial, guys, and we'll be back with our commissioner candidate for District 3 of Charles County, Derrick Terry. Stay tuned, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
You spend a total of 3 years of your life on the toilet, with an unavoidable portion of that in a public restroom. Public restrooms are notoriously intimidating, often missing stuff you need the most. And let's not talk about the bacteria and germs, even if the restroom looks clean. Germs spread when you flush the toilet. There's contaminated toilet paper, germy sinks, and blow dryers. It's a jungle of germs in there. But sometimes you really have to go. So you have to do this, and 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 even this. And ladies, you're twice as likely to encounter harmful germs. You know you're going to have to go again. So protect your bottom with the Restroom Kit, a convenient and discreet package containing the most essential products to help you stay protected in an inadequate or unsanitary restroom. It's guaranteed to have what you need: toilet paper, tush wipe, hand wipe, and a patented oversized toilet seat cover, pre-sealed and individually wrapped for on-the-go convenience. Designed with your whole family in mind, the Restroom Kit works when you need it the most and gives you confidence and cleanliness wherever you go. Take the worry out of using a public restroom and protect your bottom with the Restroom Kit. Find us on Facebook or visit www.therestroomkit.com.
Of TRK Man. Tracy and Sharon shopped at the mall with friends on a beautiful Saturday afternoon.
I have to use the bathroom. Can't you hold it until you get home? Public restrooms are nasty. I know, but I can't wait.
Sharon dashed to the bathroom to find a dirty seat, no toilet tissue, no soap, and no other options. Frustrated, she screamed,
There's no toilet paper. This sounds like a job for TRK Man. Protect your bottom!
TRK Man arrived just in the nick of time. He supplied Tracy and Sharon with the Restroom Kit. The Restroom Kit contained a patented oversized toilet seat cover, 3 feet of toilet tissue, and lightly scented hand and tush wipes. Sharon's frustration went away. She found comfort as she relieved herself, and she strolled from the restroom feeling great.
Thank you, TRK Man!
You too can overcome the hassle of poorly equipped restrooms while traveling, camping, or anywhere there are public facilities. Go to therestroomkit.com or call 800-581-4181 to purchase now.
Protect your bottom!
The Restroom Kit is a small business founded by an American veteran. For wholesale opportunities, email info@therestroomkit.com.
Welcome back to Hanging with Your Girl Tasha, guys. We're back for the second half of the segment, and now we have in the studio hanging with us Mr. Derrick Terry, candidate for Charles County Commissioner,
Yes, ma'am.
District number 3. Welcome to the studio.
Thank you, Tasha. And I definitely appreciate this opportunity to one, share my vision, but at the same time speak with your guests. And as we know, some of them are Prince George's County residents. Some of them may live in New York, California. But in terms of election, it's the Charles County voters that I'm trying to reach, and hopefully for those who know people who live in Charles County, you can reach out to them as well. So I
That's
definitely thank you
right.
for this opportunity.
Thank you. My pleasure. My pleasure. That's absolutely right, guys. And I know I have a lot of viewers that come from different areas, and I think that it's important for you to watch different interviews because it can apply to something that's going on in your own state or your own local government. So hear what the other candidates are doing in the other areas and find out what you hear about them that makes you want to give that person your vote, and look for that in your own candidate in your area. I want to remind you guys to make sure that you share and invite. Also, remember, we have the opportunity for you to call in on 301-429-9247. So, and drop in the comments. I'm going to say hello to you. Hey, Kiana. Hey, Lynn. Hey, Makiba Gibbs. How you doing, guys? Welcome, welcome. So, Mr. Derrick, Commissioner,
I like that.
what is so important about the commissioner position? Because a lot of people don't know. They're like, well, commissioner, what is that?
I don't necessarily think it's the position. It's the duty and obligation, the service behind the position. And for me, one of the main reasons I wanted to run was because of, and I'm a military person. So
What branch?
Started out Army for 8 years. I switched over to Air Force. So I just
Okay.
retired after 28 years in reserves. But one of the things I learned being in the military, as well as from my parents, is that you have to hold yourself accountable. You have to be one who's honest with people, and you also need to make sure you're transparent. And those are things that I feel lack in Charles County, along with some other issues that we'll discuss later. But one of the main reasons I am running is that God has given me the strength to do this, and the other reason is that my wife gave me permission, and I have a very supportive son and daughter. So if they had said no, I wouldn't be doing this. So I'm definitely blessed to have the support of my family and my friends, and hopefully get the support from the community.
Okay, so other than you being in the military, and thank you for your service,
Thank you.
what kind of background do you bring to the table to make you qualified to be elected into this position?
Well, it's diverse. Like I said, I mentioned military, but I'm also an educator. I've been an educator for 17 years, special education math, but I've taught a variety of different subjects. And what I've learned along the way is with anything with educating requires the ability to learn and the ability to gain knowledge and to have a diversity of ideals. And when you're dealing with Charles County government, we have 5 commissioners, one being the commissioner president, is that I definitely appreciate the diversity of ideals. You want people that have a diverse background in different areas. And when you look at education, for instance, our school system is the largest recipient of our tax dollars. And because they're a large recipient of our tax dollars, having that education background gives me the insight to know that, okay, if you're going to come to the commissioners for, a budget increase, then you better be able to justify why. So I try to get around the fluff and get straight to the point. The other thing that makes me qualified is my commitment and sacrifice. My motto is service before self. And as a military person, someone who's been in what I know is the best fraternity in the world, Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, but I do love my fellow Greeks, is that we understand the true meaning of commitment and sacrifice. And the things that we do in the community, we don't do it to get put in the newspaper and accolades and boost up your resume. We do it because that's how we're built. And I think you need somebody like that in the government that is not doing it for themselves, but doing it for the matter for the community.
Okay, remember you can call in on 301-429-9247, anyone that has any questions. So, that sounds like you have a lot of experience there. To those of us who do not live in, I'm not a Charles County resident, I'm a Prince George's County resident. But what I hear a lot from people is when we're looking on the outside in, we would think that Charles County is well off. Okay, that there's not many issues going on in Charles County, but I've heard people who are residents in Charles County say that they actually have a lot of concerns about, number one, that there is a poverty rate, and also the problems with the homeless. So because of that, I was like, get out of here. Poverty in Charles County and homeless in Charles County. So that made me have to go to, I went and I found a survey that was on Data USA. And it's back from 2016, Derrick. And basically it said that it showed that the most common racial ethnic groups living below the poverty line in Charles County is number one, blacks at 51.2%, followed by whites at 39.2%, and then Hispanics at 7.4%. And when it comes to the homeless, back in 2016, it was saying that it was over 1,100 reported to be homeless. So, as a commissioner in your position, is there anything that you're able to do to help decrease those numbers? And if so, how do you plan to combat that problem?
That's a good question, and I was kind of taken by surprise by those numbers as well. You know, I volunteer for a nonprofit who feeds the homeless, but also since I've been in Charles County, I've noticed the homeless people, and like in the areas behind, well, not to put the store out there, but behind a particular store, and having
What's wrong with the store? Because we might need to go and feed somebody.
Well, I don't know if this. I know like they used to have somebody, and I live in the Waldorf area, behind Shoppers, behind Walmart in La Plata.
Okay.
And
we need
you know
to go
they
out
had
there and help
tents.
them out. Okay.
And but one of the things that that I guess is frustrating for me is that we have a current administration that seems to put more emphasis, and I have nothing against pets, but we're in the process of possibly building a $7.1 million state-of-the-art animal shelter. And we don't have anything in place for humans. That to me, that I don't get it. We have recently just purchased a $3.4 million multi-generation center that's supposed to be used for seniors and supposed to be used for youth. That center could have been used for our homeless. We could have used that gym for for beds. It could have been a one-stop shop for social services, mental health services, but instead we wasted $3.4 million on that when we could have easily just used the Capitol Clubhouse, which is county owned, and we could have renovated that and used that space more or less for the seniors and as well as for the youth. So I think what it comes down to is that we're, as a county, we simply have not prioritized. And I think what happens is that there's there's a lot of nonprofits that are, taking the lead. Mm-hmm. But to me, these are citizens. These are citizens.
Paying taxes.
And, I don't think anybody woke up, or I want to put I don't think anybody was born and say, hey, I want to be homeless.
Because, in the article, it actually talked about that it was a nonprofit organization in the study that was bringing this to the attention or bringing it to the forefront. And they actually talked about that a lot of the homeless people actually do have jobs. They just don't have anywhere to stay. So they're paying the taxes there. Yeah.
And we also have, I can't remember now, I think it's around 600 students that are in a homeless situation. In the school system I teach in, we have homeless students. So I don't think any jurisdiction or county is immune to homelessness. But what I think that it's lacking in our county is a sense of urgency in how we address it. So, and I think with the next set of commissioners, we can put that in the forefront because it's something that needs addressed. And also, it's just, we have a lot of homeless vets as well. Me being a vet is disheartening when you have vets that are homeless. So one of the things that I definitely want to try to do is make sure we get them the necessary needs and services that are, afforded to them, and put them in connection with Veteran Affairs. They may, on a federal level, they may be going through stuff, but that should not stop us from still trying to seek those services for them. And we have a lot of good services. One particular organization called V Connections. They do an excellent job of reaching out to the veterans, but, as a county, we need to do more.
And even with the veterans, I'm sure a lot of them are dealing with the problems with PTSD and all that stuff as well. So they need resources when it comes to that area too. So with homelessness and poverty, of course, those are some of the, I hear from residents in Charles County, some of the top issues. What other top issues do you see in the county that need to address, and what are your plans to rectify those concerns?
Okay. Well, one of the issues is that we have to be more pro-business or business friendly. When you think of Charles County, and looking at like Prince George's County, I can drive to Prince George's County and pretty much find some things to do. If you're driving down the road, say, hey, let's go to Charles County and do what?
Go to Escape Theater.
Yeah. But that's actually in Prince George. That's in Brandywine.
Oh,
see,
look, I thought it was like, is that little line going to Charles County? Okay, we'll go to the AMC Theater in St. Charles Mall. How about that?
But when I mean like pro business, we have to be more open to distribution, to manufacturing. We look at, and I'm a military brat, so I'm used to military bases having things around them that attract people. So we look at Indian Head. It's our largest employer, but if you ever drive down 210, it literally can look like a ghost town because there's not a lot to do. As a youngster who may want to venture off base, what is he or she going to do? There isn't anything there.
Oh,
So
I thought you was about to say you were a youngster. Okay, go ahead.
sometimes
No.
no, but with no major supermarket, no major restaurants. Those are things that the county can help the town of Indian Head, because they're a municipality. But when one benefits, we all benefit.
Right.
And and we have a saying in the military. In the military, we will adapt, but Indian Head be very difficult to adapt if the next BRAC decides to leave. So they're doing great things there with the military alliance, which is really not a Charles County entity. It's more or less private. So the county needs to be a little bit more proactive in what they do in that area. But one of the things that's really affected the western part of the county and really has a direct impact on Charles County is the Watershed Conservation. Mm-hmm. So our WCD, what they call it for short, because what it did, it limited the amount of space in which you can build businesses. It also, this is a scare tactic with 17,000 homes being built. We really don't know that. But you take away people's property rights. So even for Indian Head, the inability to expand, they don't know whether or not they can expand, only because there are certain restrictions now. And we also have an airport. Did you know we had an airport?
There's an airport in Charles County.
Can't really use it for anything like we want, but
Where?
It's along, what's the name of the street? You go down Indian Head. It's off of Livingston. So. Well, you're not familiar, but it's there. But the issue is that in order to make it, say, like a hub like Hagerstown or Salisbury, mm-hmm. we need at least 7,100 square feet. So someone who was in a C-130 unit in the Maryland Air National Guard, the capability of something like that, it's feasible if we didn't have to deal with what I call extreme environmentalists. So you look at the economic impact that it would have on not only the western portion of Charles County, but Charles County as a whole. Because to me, Charles County is in a prime position to be the next major county for economic boom. We're less than 20, maybe 25 or so miles from D.C., National Harbor, and MGM, and we're not taking advantage of it. You only can do that when you have a pro-business mindset and you think outside of the box.
Okay, so how does pro-business translate over into careers and jobs?
Okay, so you get jobs that are highly skilled, whether it's HVAC, it could be plumbing, it could be whatever, but you also get the government contract. You get your Boeings, and you may be able to get your SAGs or your Booz Allens, but that's only going to come. Like for instance, if you were able to have the airport, you look at the avionics that could be involved in that. Mm-hmm. And then with that, you can build business around there. I'm saying, look at Crystal City, or you look at something, or business that are around the Pentagon. What happens is that you bring in those subject matter experts. I tell people all day, I'm not an expert. So if I'm somebody who wants to be pro-business, I'm going to bring in those people that are going to bring about that pro-business mentality. You give them a seat at the table, and I think they've been neglected. They literally have not had a seat at the table. And in order to be pro-business, you have to have a pro-business mindset, because you look at the commercial tax base. Right now, we're relying on our property tax, our income tax. We could do better with our tourism and our hotel tax if we simply had something to do. We have a Regency Stadium that we could, literally, it could be booked every summer with nice acts if we promote it in such a way. I mean, the county would help with that promotion. You could build restaurants around there. You could have an amphitheater. I'm saying there's a lot of things that could be done, but
so what do you think prevented it from being done thus far? Or what type of challenges? Would you think that you're the first person that thought about this, or are there some other challenges that people may have came up to?
Well, honestly, the challenges is mainly 3 commissioners we have in office. That's the challenge. You have to get them out. One of them is not running. The other 2 we have to get out. It's just that, and I'm one of the ones that is trying to get that seat.
Okay. So what's District 3?
Yeah,
it's
District
1
3.
district, but what other district would it be?
There's District 1, there's District 2, and District 3.
Okay.
District 4, very pro-business, and the county commissioner president, anti-business. And when I'm not talking about Krispy Kremes. You know, to me, that's their ideal of business. I'm saying no one from Krispy Kreme is going to be able to have a high quality of living if you simply work in the 9 to 5. But what we can do is bring in the type of business that will give people that type of income that they need to get a house or to raise a family. But we only can do that when we expand.
Okay, so we have Mr. David Hancock who's putting a comment in there. He said, "You're very true, Derrick." He said that is a 0 commercial tax base here. So, David, if you have some more comments or questions that you'd like to share with Derrick, please call in 301-429-9247. So what other type of issues? So we've gone through the poverty, we've gone through the homelessness, we've gone through the lack of being able to think outside the 9 dots and think on a pro-business level. What other issues do you see?
Well, one of the main reasons why I moved to Charles County was because of the education system.
Oh, Lord. Okay.
And being an educator, I understand it. I've been almost 17 years. Well, I'm going on 18. So I understand education. So, like any education system, there's good and bad. And I don't believe there's a such thing as a perfect school system. And anybody who thinks that they're just being naive, there just isn't. But what I will say is that at the time that we came in, Charles County school system was one basically that you could appreciate.
You could be proud of.
Yeah. And unfortunately, there's been things that have taken us on decline, but it's on the rise. And I believe in public school. You know, if I felt that Charles County Public Schools was such in disarray, I would have pulled my son out a long time ago. I'm not going to give up. They have things in place, but one of the things as commissioner
that you can help them with.
Yeah, that we have to look at is improving the budget. How do we look at the budget from year to year? Because people always think by throwing money at the budget, at the problem, that it will solve the problem. Money doesn't always solve problems. Sometimes it can create problems. So what I want to be able to do is sit down, not only with the superintendent and the board of education, but with the teachers, with the parents, with the students, to find out what is it that you need that will help you. And it comes with really, like I said, diversity of ideals. And I'm one of those people that what you see is what you get. Mm-hmm. But when we talk about they're our second largest employer.
The school system.
Where the Indian Head is our first. So not to go back on business, but those are public sector jobs.
So let me go with where you said what you see is what you get. We have a comment in the comments from Gilbert Boland asking about transparency. What is your position on transparency, and how do you enforce transparency?
I don't think you necessarily can enforce it, but as a citizen, you need to hold your elected officials accountable. I'm saying I'm on a platform like this. There's a lot of groups out there, and I won't say what they are, but a lot of face groups out there that I call them Facebook thugs. They get on, they talk a lot of stuff.
What's a Facebook thug?
Well, they basically, they'll criticize you, but they won't provide a solution.
Okay.
And I'm military minded. My commander should always say, look, Terry, don't come to the table complaining if you're not going to bring a solution. So some days I would go, some days I wouldn't go. But when I mean about transparency, I'm talking about just being honest. I really think most people that are in office sincerely want to do well. They sincerely want to get things across. But I think what happens is that they get so tied up in the position that they forget why they're there. And you're there for the people. The people deserve 100% transparency. One of the things I've seen in our current administration is that they do a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff. As recently as even suing a private citizen for a simple public information request that they did not want to release to the county because it would be, and they use this word injurious, and I had to look it up. I've never heard that word before, injurious. And someone who's in the military, if it's not top secret, it's not confidential, it's not even what county security and national security issue would the commissioners have with releasing this information. So they lost, and they had to release it. So that's trying not to be transparent so you cannot have to explain yourself. And that's the accountability piece. Because remember at the beginning, I said accountability, integrity, transparency. Because if you don't have all three of those, then I question why you're even in office. Because you're there to serve the people. At the end of the day, and I'm hoping there's people out here, I work for you. I don't work for me, I work for you. Whether you vote for me, you don't vote for me, I still work for you. And I need to ensure that I'm transparent. If I'm not, hold me accountable. Hold me accountable. And a lot of, and I call them politicians, a lot of politicians will not allow you to hold them accountable. But I'm a public servant. And I'm glad that I have enough friends out there that they will check me.
I think they will.
Yeah.
I might have to check you. Okay. We have a question coming from Daughtery Butler, Washington. How could the commissioners build a relationship with Prince George's and especially MGM, since it's right down the street from Indian Head in Charles County? What strategy will be used to bring jobs and businesses to Charles County if you are elected?
One of the things that I think that we should do, we have a very effective and a very vibrant and a very energized Chamber of Commerce. So, and like I said, I'm not a subject matter expert, but what I definitely be willing to do is bring everyone to the table and say, how is it that we both can capitalize off of this? There's been this, perception that people in Charles County don't want to do business in Prince George's County, and Prince George's County doesn't want to do business in Charles County. To some degree, they're right because of who we've had in office. How we bridge that gap is by having open, sincere conversation. I've been very vocal about an airport. I've been very vocal about the things that Prince George's County is doing. Hey, how can we duplicate that? What is that you do? Because I think when you open those lines of communication, then hopefully I'm hoping down the line it'll help with our transportation issue. Because the way Prince George's County looks at it, well, the issues that you have in your county, that's your problem. I said, why am I going to take care of you when my job is to take care of Prince George's County? So, and relationships really, at the end of the day, about trust.
Right.
Because if you don't have trust, why would I want to do business with you? And like I said, I don't know the history behind it, but I do know that if we had a stronger, more trustworthy relationship with Prince George's County, we probably get a lot more things accomplished. Because what Prince George's County does directly impacts Charles County. What Charles County does directly impacts Prince George's County, whether we want to admit it or not. So we're neighbors. So if we're neighbors, we have to find a way to come together. And it just really comes with trust and communication.
Trust and communications, but how do you start fostering or repairing that relationship that you see has been broken?
New set of commissioners. I'll be honest with you. You need a new set of commissioners.
Are you familiar with any of the players in Prince George's County? Maybe have a relationship with them already that you'll be able to use that history?
I guess because I was an educator and educator in Prince George's County, but because, my dad always says not where you're from, it's where you're at. So one of the things that I always tried to do was to connect with people all over. So I know quite a few people in Prince George's County, and I probably will be going to the state's attorney forum if I have time to check that out, because I know people there. I know some people on the board of education. I know some state delegates, but I know state delegates in Baltimore. I know state delegates in Baltimore County. So it really just comes about with bringing them onto the table, bringing your ideals, but not to overstep our state delegates, because they have a job to do on the state level. So whomever is elected for the next set of state delegates, we want to make sure that we're not stepping on their toes, because they have a job to do. So it's really that partnership.
Okay, now I'm hoping that I do not mess up the name. Teresa Brown Kuhns, Kuhns. Sweetheart, I hope I didn't mess up your name, but she put in the comments about repealing the watershed and how that will allow small businesses to expand and grow. Do you agree or not agree with what she's saying with regards to repealing the watershed?
I agree. We should repeal it. It's sort of like, I think they had rushed into it, and they may try to twist it and say, oh, we didn't take away your rights. Yeah, you did. I look at it like this. We look at the studio. Let's say, for instance, I say, you know what, 3 feet of the studio, you can't use. Although you need it, you can't use it. Mm-hmm. And it's yours. And it's yours. That's kind of what the government did. They said, you know what, 8% of your land, you can't use it. And guess what? You devalued it. If you tried to sell the studio, you're not going to be able to give it for the same price, because 8% of it you can't even use, or 4%, whatever it was. So to me, it's common sense. It's sort of like a grab, and you have a certain you have a set of commissioners in there that just refuse to be honest. Call it what it is. We did it so we could protect whatever they want to protect, mainly environmental issues.
I'm glad I pronounced your name correctly. She said I did good. Kudos for me. Okay, so you are like being so business person. Of course, people want to know who's Derrick. Part of being transparent. Let's get into a little bit of personal stuff. Tell them about Derrick, the husband. One moment. It's hanging with your girl Tasha. Who do we have calling in?
Yes, this is Valerie Butler, Washington.
Hello, Miss Washington.
Hey, how you doing? I wanted to expand on my question that I just asked to Derrick.
Okay, go ahead.
I wanted to know, I know Derrick said that, Prince George County is supposed to, support the people in Prince George County. Why would they want to help George County? I have another question. The question would be, I think it would be a great relationship built, because we know that Prince George County schools are not as vibrant as George County. We could learn from each other by building how we do our schools. They could learn from their schools. But the real issue is, if business come down to George County, it will help both counties coming back and forth, because they can leverage off both. So my question to Derrick is, how can you expand and come out and get Prince George County to come look at George County to make sure that we building the relationship? Because we don't want to know Prince George County's not coming down. We want to know, how can we get Prince George County to come to George County so we can leverage off both? Because we both got great ideas, but we're not building the relationship to move the whole state, Maryland, to one level.
It's a good question, and thank you, Ms. Washington. To me, it's a very simple answer. You just open up the lines of communication. To be honest with you, to me, it's just very, very simple. And if you don't give them a seat at the table, then they're not going to come to begin with. So I can't imagine anyone say, hey, let's go down to Charles County. They didn't ask us to come. But if you pick up the phone, you arrange meetings, and you said, because I've worked in Prince George's County. My wife works in Prince George's County. So I'm aware of the issues that Prince George's County has. But I'm also aware that Prince George's has enormous commercial tax base. Enormous. That we can't even compare to. Prince George's County, I believe their population at least triple ours. So there's a lot of things that Prince George's County can do that logistically we just cannot do right now. But I think when we talk about education and we talk about things that we can learn from, I'm a big proponent of that. There isn't a perfect school system. Every school system has some good points. Every school system has some bad points. When I look at Prince George's County, I will say hands on their professional development is excellent. The problem is that you may have some people that are instructing it that may not be the right people to do it. But the material they have is very good. When I look at Charles County is getting to that point to where they're having more development for professional development for the teachers. But is it the type of professional development that the teachers are requesting? So I think that dialogue is doable, but that's something, be honest with you, that the Board of Education, both that collaboration needs to start with them first, and as it starts with them, then it can translate over to the commissioners and maybe the delegates. But I think a starting point would be with the Board of Education, especially if we're talking about how we can bring both counties together when we talk about education. But when you're talking about business, that's something that definitely the commissioners would meet with the county council. But we have to understand is that Prince George's County has a county exec format, where Charles County does not have a county exec format, although some people would think that's the way in which it's operating right now, that it is a county exec format when it shouldn't be.
Do you have a follow-up question, Ms. Washington?
Yes, the reason I asked that is because, Derrick, I have been trying for 9 years to build a sports flex and learning center in Charles County. And I have went so far as going up to the governor's office. The governor has stated it's a great program. He has even went so far as to meet his executive director, who's over the community service for the whole state of Maryland. And my first approach was to go straight to District 9 to talk to them because he was the councilman for District 9 to see if we could collaborate, Charles County and Prince George County. We was at the table. It worked because the first thing they said was we can learn from each other and we can leverage off each other because we're both in Southern Maryland. So I got that for them. I know pretty sure that if the commissioners and the councilmen from those states get together, it will be more powerful. I was a resident doing it, and I was able to infiltrate it. So that's what I'm saying. We shouldn't give up, or we shouldn't say naysay. It can work, but we need negotiators. We need people who can build relationships. We need people who will go the extra mile for the residents. So it's not going to be an easy thing, but I'm saying don't say Prince George, think about Prince George. Because Prince George and Charles County, we're both in Southern Maryland, and we're far from Annapolis. So therefore, we're going to have to do for ourselves, and we're going to have to do together with each other. So I'm just looking for commissioners that are willing to go that mile to make it happen. And, that was my input to it all. You don't have to answer. I'm just saying that's what I wanted to state, that we need commission that will go the extra mile.
Well, we appreciate you calling and sharing that information, Ms. Washington. Are you that commissioner that will go the extra mile?
I wholeheartedly agree. I've always been very firm is that people deserve to have a seat at the table. Just to say no, it won't work without seeing the plan. I think one of the things that we always want to make sure that we're mindful of is that with any type of investment or type of business venture, especially when we talk about a sports complex, that if it's a collaborative effort or if it's a private effort, we have to make sure that funds are secured, because the last thing we want to do is build something and then be stuck with a shell. But I think if we sit down at the table and we go over everything, that is doable. But I don't believe that the current commissioners saw the vision, nor wanted to see the vision. So, and that's the thing, you have to see the vision, and then you work everything out, after that. But I do thank you for the for your question and your concern.
Thanks, Ms. Washington.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so I was going to let you tell a little bit about yourself. Now, you keep saying you work in Prince George's County.
I said I did.
You did? Okay, well, what you got going on? And whatever you're doing, the work that you're doing, your private life, how are you going to balance? Well, is that a full-time position?
That is a part-time position.
Okay.
It should be working sessions 2 days a week, but the current set of commissioners decided to to have them come once every other week and still get paid $48,000 to do the same amount of work. So I think you should be there. That's me personally, as a teacher.
So how are you going to balance your work, your personal life, and your new position as commissioner? Because I know as a union vice president, I do a lot of work off the clock. So how are you going to balance all of that?
Well, I do know as an educator, if I'm so fortunate enough to get voted in, then I will not be able to teach on a full-time basis at my school. It would be unfair to the students. It would be unfair to the Virginia taxpayers for me to take all this time off. And I legally or ethically just don't know how I can do it because I would be using Virginia taxpayer dollars to benefit Charles County.
Okay.
I just don't see how I can do it. So, I would find other means. I'm very tight with money, so I know how to budget. And, some of my friends may be on there, they call me cheap, tight, whatever, but I'm fiscally conservative. I try to manage the dollar. But also, I guess a little bit about me, I said in the beginning, I'm a father, I'm a husband, I'm an uncle, I'm a godfather, brother, son, so forth. But I'm originally from Birmingham, Alabama. Roll Tide.
Alabama. Okay.
I'm an Army brat. I've traveled the world. I've lived in Germany. I've lived in Washington. 28 years in the military reserves. I've been in Afghanistan. I've been to Qatar, been Romania. So there's a lot of traveling. But me as the person, I'm a sports fanatic. I've coached.
What's your favorite sport?
I don't know if I have one.
Who's your football team?
I have to say it on air. I won't lose no votes.
I don't know. If you say the wrong one, I might kick you out the studio.
I won't lose no votes, but look, I'm up front. I like the Dallas Cowboys, so.
Oh, Jesus.
I was born in Texas. so. I was born in Fort Hood, Texas. So what am I,
I'm not gonna hold that against you.
So most people can't say that. Look, I know some people that Washington's not in Washington.
Well, I was born in Washington, okay? And I'm not one of them fair weather fans. They lose like a mug, but that's still my team.
Yeah, so. but it's all fun though. But like I said, I love sports. One of the things that I love doing is mentoring. I moved here in 2006, and I'd been deployed and came back. And one of the things I wanted to do was get back into the fraternity. So I'd been a little distant. So I joined Sigma Alpha Lambda chapter back in 2010. I think that was the first year it was started, and been mentoring youth, well over 100 youth. I also was president of the foundation, and during that time, what did I say? Oh, I'm sorry. So during that time, was able to get $19,000 in scholarships. But at the end of the day, I'm a down to earth person. I'm funny. I'm upfront. But what I will tell people is that I'm honest and I'm sincere, and I'm not your typical, I guess, quote unquote politician. I'm someone who is genuine. I'm a real person. I don't put on a dog and pony show for no one.
Yeah, I heard some people refer to you as a firecracker. You behaving a little bit today. Just a little bit here. So with us just having like a minute to go, Derrick, what is it that you want to say to the people here?
Well, what I want to say is that you deserve a county commissioner that's going to hold himself accountable. There's going to be one that's honest and be very transparent. I'll be honest with you, I don't have all the answers. That's why I would hope to get some solutions from the most valued customer, being Charles County citizens. I love Charles County. I've been there since 2006. It has a lot to offer, and we have so much potential. But in the way in which things are going right now, if we don't change the direction, we're going to have people make a mass exodus. And we don't want that. We want our county to thrive. We want it to be a place where we can live and our kids can grow and come back and do things and hopefully come back and want to live in Charles County.
Well, thank you so much, guys. And just as a reminder, remember, we're coming up on our elections. Early voting is June 14th through June 21st, and then the main day is June 26th.
Yes.
If you could get out and early vote, early vote. Don't wait till the last minute because you never know what's going to happen. And just remember, the next 3 weeks we are spending on politics. Next week we will have our District 6 and District 9 school board representatives. District 6 is Belinda Melville Queen, and District 9 being Don Massey will be here next week. So see you next Monday, 5:30 on Hanging with... Real quick, he got a book, guys. Go ahead.
I'm not complaining, I'm just saying the memoirs of the good and bad education system.
Yes, okay.
I'm an author, too.
Y'all got to check that out. See, he needs to come back. He just needs to come back on the show, okay? All right, see you guys next Monday, 5:30 to 6:30. Thank you, Derrick.
Thank you.